Hello students, today we're going to review absolute value, what it means, and how to solve absolute value equations. First of all, remember the definition of absolute value is how far a number is from zero, okay? So in general, you'll have two solutions for when you have the x absolute value equals 8. So we know that the absolute value of 8 equals 8 and the absolute value of negative 8 equals 8. So the solution x can equal, and we're going to put it in solution set form, negative 8, or it could be 8. And that's our solution for absolute value of x equals 8. Now it's going to get a little bit more challenging, where we have 5 times the absolute value of x equals 30. We're going to divide by 5, so the absolute value of x equals 30 divided by 5, 6. So our two solutions can be either negative 6 or 6. And we put them in solution set form. Those are the squiggly lines there. Okay? All right. Now, we treat this whole thing like it's a variable. So first we're going to solve everything around it, and then we're going to split it up into two equations. And I'll show you how to do that here in just a minute. Now this is 2 times the absolute value of this whole set equals 32. So first we want to get rid of the 2 in the front, so we divide everything by 2. Then we get y plus 5 absolute value equals 16. Now I'm going to split this up into two different equations. Okay? Y plus 5 equals 16. We put it exactly like that. And then we know if the solution here is negative 16, it will also come out positive. So we also put y plus 5 equals negative 16. And we'll get our two equations there. My marker's not writing so great, but hopefully you can see that. So I go minus 5 here, minus 5 there, and we say y equals 11. So there's one solution. And if we want to go back to the original equation, 11 plus 5 is 16. Absolute value is 16 times 2 is 32. Boom, we've checked it and it's right. Okay? Now we'll try this one where we go minus 5, minus 5. Don't assume that they're both going to be the same number, like 11 and negative 11, because it's not going to be that. Y equals negative 16 minus 5 is negative 21. So if I put that back into the equation, negative 21 plus 5 is negative 16. Absolute value is 16 times by 2 is 32. Boom, we've got the right answer. So we're going to write that, and I'll put it over here in a solution set form where we put negative 21 and 11. That's a squiggly looking 11, but there you go. And so we're all done with that. Now let's go on to number 8. And again, we want to get the absolute value by itself, and then we'll get our two equations from that absolute value. We're going to add 9 first. Add 9 here. And we get absolute value of 1 minus 6t equals, that goes away, 46 plus 9, and going to be 54, I believe. No, 55. Sorry, my bad. 6 and 9 is 15. Carry the 1, 55. Okay. All right. The absolute value is by itself, so now I can go ahead and split it up into two different equations here. So we're going to have 1 minus 6t equals 55. So you always write it exactly like it is in the absolute value, and then 1 minus 6t, again, exactly like it is, but we're going to have it equal to negative 55. And hopefully you can see that okay. So we're going to go subtract 1, subtract 1. Negative 6t equals 54. Okay, divide by negative 6, divide by negative 6, and we get a beautiful number. T equals negative 9. Beautiful answer. Okay, now we're going to go over here and we're going to going to go minus 1. Bring this down. There's a negative there. Negative 6t equals negative 56. Divide by negative 6. Divide by negative 6. And I cannot do that in my head. So 6 goes into 56. 9 with 2 left over. And it's going to be positive. 9 and 2/6. And 2/6 equals 1/3. So again, don't think it's going to be the positive and the negative of the same number, because a lot of times it's not. So solution set form, I'm going to come back up here. Let's see, I'll put it right here. And I put negative 9 and then 9 and 1/3. And I ran out of room, but my squiggly line would go right there. Okay? So let's do a couple more from the homework, because I know this is kind of hard. Okay, so we have 8 minus 2, and the absolute value equals negative 2. You want to get rid of what's around the absolute value. You treat it like it's a variable. And even if you wanted to, you could go 8 minus 2x equals negative 2. Until you felt more comfortable with the absolute value. Because then we could just go, oh, let's solve this. Minus 8, minus 8. Let's bring this down. Remember the negative. Negative 2x equals negative 10. Divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. X equals 5. Okay? Now that it's like that, we can say, oh, we can plug this back in for our x. We can say a minus 17 is actually our x. So we go a minus 17 absolute value equals 5. And then we come up with our two equations. A minus 17 equals 5. The first one looks exactly like that without absolute value bars. Or a minus 17 equals negative 5. And we solve each equation. So we're going to add 17, add 17. So 5 plus 17, a equals 22. That's our first solution. And then over here we add 17, a equals 12. And again for our solution set, I put 12 and 22. Those are the only two answers that would work for A. We can plug them back in. 12 minus 17 is negative 5. Absolute value is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. And then 8 minus 10 equals negative 2. That's correct. I could put 22 in there. 22 minus 17 is 5. Absolute value is 5. And multiply it by 2 is 10. 8 minus 10 equals negative 2. Boom, you got the right answer. Now, I wanted to do 16 for you as well because there's a weird 1/3 y that I don't think you've worked a lot with on fractions. So here we go. We're going to go minus 9, minus 9. Okay, so that goes away. Minus absolute value of 2 minus 1/3 y equals negative 9. I'm going to divide this by negative 1. So we get absolute value of 2 minus 1/3 y equals 9. Now we can split it up to two different equations because our absolute value is all by itself. So I said 2 minus 1/3 y equals 9. Or, because you write it exactly like it is, or 2 minus 1/3 y equals negative 9. And that's not beautifully written, so you'll just have to pardon my writing. Okay, so we're going to solve the first one. We're going to minus 2, minus 2. And then we get negative 1/3 y equals 7. Now, how do you get rid of the negative 1/3? Because y has to equal 1y. Well, we're going to multiply by negative 3. Multiply by negative 3. So y equals negative 21. Okay. Okay, the next one, 2 minus 1/3 y equals -9. I'm going to go -2, -2, -1/3 y equals -11. And that's a pretty nasty, gnarly 1/3. Okay, I do the same thing. I multiply both sides by -3. And I'm running out of room here, people. Y equals 33. Now I can plug each of those back in. I want to go back to the original equation and say 9 minus, if I put -21 in there, that equals 7. So 2 plus 7 is 9, because this becomes a positive, because -1/3 times -21 is +7. So 2 plus 7 is 9, absolute value, 9 minus 9 is equal to 0. So that worked. Now if I put 33 in there, 33 times -1/3 is -11. So 2 minus 11 is -9, absolute value of 9, 9 minus 9 equals 0. So I know I go through that pretty quickly, but it's a way to double check your answers. Okay? Good luck. Students, you rock.